Hey guys. Okay, so I didn't think I would be making this video. I actually did shoot this video a while ago, and I just cut the shooting in the middle of filming because I figured there wasn't a point in making this video since everyone had pretty much said their piece on the situation, and I wanted to initially, but I figured I just wouldn't bother. Because I assumed the situation had just kind of taken care of itself and it just pretty much ended. But it's still going on in in a comment thread on one of Damien's videos, his most recent video on UTF. There's still an exchange going on, at least last I checked. So this has caused me to once again want to say my own piece on the situation with UTF1127. This video might be super rambly. I mean, I know a lot of my videos tend to get rambly, but this one might get super rambly, so please just, like, bear with me. I'm really just going to be talking about how I found UTF, and kind of, I guess, my history with UTF, even though I've never actually talked to UTF one-on-one or talked to him directly. This is just going to be my experience as a fan, former fan now. But let's go back to around, let's see, like either 2011, 2012. I think it might have been 2011, but let's see. 2011. I think actually 2012 is probably more like it. Either way, back then was when I first found UTF 1127. The first video that I ever watched from John was WWE Sucks. There, I said it. And I thought the video was, I mean, I completely related to the video. I mean, he completely, spoke my own thoughts about WWE and the state of their product at the time. And I was hooked, and so I figured I would check out more of this guy's content, and sooner or later, I was a huge fan, just like that. He was pretty much the first YouTuber that I consistently watched and was into, the first ranter that I was into, because at that time I didn't know about guys like Stevie or Stout or Damien Skyfire or any of these other ranters on the internet. I hadn't discovered them yet. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, UTF was the first ranter YouTuber that I was, really into. I enjoyed a lot of his content, just for the style, I guess. Just the blunt, straightforward, I guess you call it confrontational sort of style. I enjoyed that because, because even now, I mean, like, more so back then, I was always a very, shy person. I didn't really talk a whole lot. I had my small circle of friends, but, typically I was someone who was very much an introvert. Still am, to an extent, but even more so back then. And UTF's ranting style is something that is just something that I wish that I could have been more like, if that makes any sense. I wish I could have been a little bit more open and blunt, but I wasn't, and still am not really. But I am. I do think I've opened up a little bit more since then, since my middle school and high school days. But no, I enjoyed, I especially enjoyed the videos where he challenged, religious people, because back then, this was before the rise of SJWs and, all the, the feminazis of the world and stuff. This was still when the religious right sort of still had the full reign, sort of. The religious right was starting to die out back then, but it hadn't died out quite yet, so there was still some of that stuff, some of that bullshit still going around. UTF would challenge, really, really religious, like, Christians and stuff, particularly about, LGBT stuff, gay marriage and stuff, and I enjoyed those videos. I enjoyed his rants on just various topics. He had this series called The Red Ass, which I really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed the videos where he would just open up about his personal life, where he would talk about his anxiety, his depression, because I think that, with YouTubers, especially ones that have a larger audience, it's almost like you're watching a TV show with an actor. You kind of see this YouTuber, this person, as a celebrity, when really they're not actually a celebrity. They're just like you. They're just a person who turns on a camera and talks about topics just like you do. They just happen to have a larger audience and a lot more fans. But I think we kind of have a tendency sometimes. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like it's this way with other people. We have a tendency to kind of see these people with these bigger audiences and see them as just like I said, like these actors, or like these stars, or these famous people. And these videos where UTF would open up about his again, his anxiety, depression, stuff going on in his personal life, relationship problems, it made the person behind the camera seem a lot more human and a lot more relatable, and I liked that. I enjoyed that about his videos, about those videos that he made. His videos about, where he talked about his, on Father's Day, about his own father, his relationship problems with the Valentine's Day video he made, and just his, again, his videos where he talked about how his, anxiety had progressed, about how his bouts with depression, when he had that surgery on his neck, he kind of documented that. I mean, it just made him a lot more relatable and stuff, in a way that a lot of other YouTubers that I watched just weren't. So, I mean, that's really what I enjoyed about his videos, and I want to go ahead and skip ahead to, because I continued to watch John throughout, up until I'd say about, in my early college days, I kind of lost track of what he was doing. I kind of, not lost interest exactly, but I started to watch other stuff and move away from his content a little bit, although I was still subscribed. I still enjoyed, his content whenever I watched it, for the most part. I didn't always agree with UTF. I mean, I disagree with him sometimes, but generally I think I agree with a good chunk of what he said. And with his wrestling videos too were really good. But around, I'd say, early 2016, when the whole Brock Turner case was going on, which I admit is completely bogus and was bogus. The video, no, I wouldn't say the turning point, but the video that kind of set me on edge a little bit, was the video that John made about rape culture and how it's real. Now, even back then, when I was a lot more left-leaning than I am now, even then I still had a problem with, like, feminism and stuff. And the term rape culture had just surfaced, and I had a problem with it just because of its presentation, because of its implications that we live in a culture where rape is just A-okay. And I guess feminists have, like, some sort of explanation for it, but I still, to this day, don't really buy it. But John made a video over it, and the thing is, he almost had me convinced. Almost. But that was kind of a video that again, set me on edge, but it didn't completely turn the tables. Like, I was still, like, a fan of John's. Like, I wasn't gonna let just that one video, that one opinion, I mean, completely turn me off from his content, but so we got that. And then I guess we can go ahead and fast forward to around 2016 election, probably before Trump was elected, if I recall correctly. But the thing that really ended up turning me off, that ended up turning the tables for me as far as being a fan of John and his content, I was following his fan page at the time on Facebook, and he made this angry post about the two genders thing, and about how if someone said that there are only two genders one more time, that he was going to lose it or whatever. I don't remember the post verbatim, of course, but it was something along those lines. And, I mean, I, among others, were some of the people that asked questions. Like, I was confused, and other people were as well, and they were asking honest questions. They weren't being dicks about it. They were asking honest questions, including myself. Because it just, even then, like, the more than two genders thing, like, because I don't think I'd heard much about that before John made that post, but I was confused by it, so I asked an honest question. I left honest questions in the comments. And then I think it was the next day, he made a post basically mocking those who were asking honest questions, and was getting really angry about it. And it really made me realize that this guy had just either was or had become kind of an asshole. Like, you know, the more aggressive, you know, the further, you know, political atmosphere that was becoming more and more aggressive and crazy as, you know, the 2016 election went on. I guess it kind of brought out the worst in John. Maybe that's what happened. But yeah, I just remember thinking, like, why are you mocking us? Like, why are you mocking your own fans for asking you honest questions? Why not just calmly explain instead of mocking us and stuff? You know, so that was kind of a turning point, and then also a post that I had completely forgotten about that I don't think I've mentioned thus far. It was a post that was made right after Trump had won the election. And I'm not talking about the video he posted to his YouTube channel entitled "Trump Wins, We Lose, So Long America." Of course, that video was whatever. But he made this post about how his current girlfriend at the time, which I assume isn't his current wife, but or, you know, if it is, then okay, but I assume it was his girlfriend before he met his current wife. That his girlfriend at the time was having a panic attack because Trump won the election, and that anyone who would disagree with him about Trump, or anyone who had voted for Trump, or anyone who had supported Trump in any way could just go fuck off and pretty much get lost. And I think that was pretty much my breaking point, because, you know, I can understand not liking a presidential candidate, but to tell people that disagree with you, like, just because of a disagreement over a political candidate, to fuck off, at the time just struck me as... It just struck me as very immature, and John came off as even more of an asshole than he already did with the two genders thing. And... well, I don't want to go there with the girlfriend, but I mean, yeah, I think that was the post that really just turned me off from John and his content, and just following him as a person, because, you know, I didn't vote in the election. I wasn't registered to vote. It would have been the first election that I could have voted in, but I didn't get myself registered. I was busy with classes in college at the time, and I didn't feel comfortable really. Even if I was registered, I didn't feel comfortable voting for either one at the time. But looking back on it, after watching the last two debates, I came to the conclusion that the lesser of two evils, in my opinion, was Trump. Obviously, John disagreed with this, and he would go on to make videos where he would demonize people who either didn't vote because they couldn't vote for either one, and he would also demonize third-party voters, which I think is just bullshit. Like, I think that if you choose to vote for an independent candidate because you don't want to vote for either one, I think that's completely fine. I don't think it's throwing away your vote. You're still voting. You know, it's one of these people who say that you should vote, but then when you vote for an independent candidate, they say, oh, you threw your vote away. Well, what do you want? I mean, do you want one or the other? Okay, you can't have your cake and eat it at the same time, dude. But, yeah, so he made those videos and those posts on Facebook, and in the end, that's what really just made me unsubscribe. After being subscribed to John for 4 to 5 years, I unsubbed. Couldn't do it anymore. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty much my story involving this. And I imagine it's probably the story of many others, because, you know, I think that John probably influenced a lot of other ranters and stuff, and was an influence on many other people. You know, and he was probably one of the influences that caused me to start making videos and stuff. You know, but by that point, I had found, you know, other ranters like Stevie and Stout and Damien and other people. You know, and now today I'm more or less a part of this, I guess I'm more or less part of the ranting community. I'm a part of a group on Facebook. I've met a lot of cool people that I'm very happy to, I guess, at least online, have in my life. But going back to John, I guess we can kind of fast forward to the current stuff with John. You know, the thing that I don't get is that John claims that he could care less about all this bullshit, about all this, you know, petty online bullshit, you know, that he has a great life, that his, you know, he's got a hot wife and stuff, and that he's having a great life in Finland and stuff. But he says all that, but yet he keeps coming back and engaging in people that he claims to not give a shit about, that he could care less about. And I mean, if your life was so great, John, if you can care less about all of this, then why don't you just stay away? Why not just fuck off, get offline, and just go spend time with your wife? Or, I don't know, go stroll the Greenlands of Finland. You know. You know, now as an X-fan, even though I still do think some of his videos are good, and I do still, you know, I do still understand why I enjoyed some of the content back then. I think even now I would still enjoy that content. I now look back. It's kind of like when you're watching a TV show or a movie that you loved as a kid, that you thought was just the greatest, and then you go back and watch it for like nostalgia purposes, and you just think, why the fuck did I like this movie? Why did I like this TV show? It's so cringy. It's so bad. And when I look at the person that John has become today, it's kind of tainted my enjoyment of his previous content, because now I just go back and I look at John's style and I look at how he acts, and all I can think is that he's just this arrogant, self-centered, douchey asshole with a superiority complex a little bit. You know, and he's even admitted to disconnecting himself from people who, you know, may have voted for Trump. Even if they weren't a big fan of Trump, he still would disassociate himself from people who voted for Trump because maybe they thought he was the lesser of two evils or something. Now, admittedly, I don't have screenshots of this, but I did see it when because I think I briefly refollowed his fan page on Facebook, and I quickly unfollowed it again, somewhere in between 2016 and today, but I think it was like, whatever. Not important, but, yeah, so I don't get that either, and he just, overall, just now, given the current situation, he just comes off as a very miserable, bitter person. Who apparently he lost some pretty good people. He lost some friends of his, you know, Justin being one of them, who probably would have done a lot for him. He probably would have done close to anything for him. You know, Justin considered him a brother. You know, I couldn't imagine throwing a friend like that under the bus. You know. So I don't really know what else to say, but I guess this is kind of my piece on this whole situation. John, if you watch this, I used to be a fan of yours. I enjoyed your content, but what you've become now, I no longer want any part of. And hopefully eventually you find happiness eventually in your life, and you can become some semblance of the person you were before, if you were even that person before. So, I guess this is it for this one, so peace and have a good day.